Hey there and welcome back to sweptmedia here at the convergence of AI and Web3. Before we get started here, I should remind you to please like, follow, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching this video on, or maybe you're just reading the article, in which case you should share it with everybody. Put it into your social media posts and talk about GAIB at the same time. Secondly, I will be at Southeast Asia Blockchain Week this year. It's in Bangkok. This one is starting the first week of April. So I'll be walking around. I'm a media partner. So I'm also trying to maybe moderate a panel. We'll see how that goes. And of course, I'll have a lot of great content from AI builders in the space, likely from probably Aether, GAIB possibly if they're there, and many others. So stay tuned for that. I'm really happy to be able to bring that to you. Now let's jump into GAIB, which is another brand new thing. I think that you've gotten the point here. Not only am I covering AI and Web3, but it's often these very, very brand new things that pop up and may or may not be very well funded the way that GAIB is. GAIB got an investment from Hashed, so you know that they've got a lot of money. GAIB, however, is a self-described first economic layer for AI and compute. And one thing I always learned about projects that say they're the first of anything is that they often are not. Now, I'm not saying GAIB isn't, it might be, but if they're self-described as that way, it's a dubious claim. And it's one that it's an adjective. So you can basically take it out and just say, okay, it's an economic layer for AI and compute. Is it the first? It's the first one I've heard of that is only about AI compute. However, there are others that are very similar to it that are tackling slightly different problems. So what I'll do here is describe GAIB, try to keep my bias out of it as much as possible and just give you the rundown of the project, and then I will interject a little bit at the end. So again, GAIB, it's the first economic layer for AI and compute. It is not generating compute. This was my misconception at first when I looked into GAIB. I was able to attend an AMA with Connie, the founder of GAIB, and I asked him a question about this under the assumption that this was a platform that was, in addition to tokenizing compute, it was also generating compute or offering compute, maybe in a decentralized way to users. But that's not the case. It's an economic layer, and they have a few good diagrams to share that. I like the way that this website's put together. Kind of reads like a comic book. So here's their about. GAIB is the economic layer for AI and compute future. We enable everyone and anyone to own a piece of AI. The name GAIB, many of you probably already know where GAIB comes from, draws inspiration not only from the movie Dune, symbolizing the unseen or the future, but also from our core pillars, GPU, AI, and financialization. In the AI era, GPUs are new assets, and compute is the new currency akin to spice in Dune. GAIB is liberating a $1 trillion AI and compute market. So basically what they're saying is, yes, it's a $1 trillion market, and whoever is going to tap into this thing is going to have access to it. You don't need to know how to use compute. You don't even need to know what compute is. Of course, it helps. What they're trying to do is make it tradable. Tokenized compute, tokenized GPU power. I've seen that it's not exactly tokenized GPUs, but for all intents and purposes, that's what it is. So just think about it like that. They're trying to create a marketplace for GPUs with yield. It's a yield-bearing asset. Yes, it's going to be tokenized. Financialization to enable fractional ownership of GPU computing units through tokens. There you go. Tokenized GPUs. Both layer 1 and layer 2s work symbiotically to offer integrated functionality and extend capabilities to improve the speed of transactions and the scalability. I think they need to fix some of the copy here. They should do that. I don't know what that means. I think what they're trying to say is GAIB can be integrated into L1s or L2s. But I'm not totally sure. Maybe it's talking about the state of the symbiosis between L1s and L2s, which is true. It is a symbiotic relationship. They've already got a couple of partners in the space that are quite influential. Aether we've talked about a number of times. Plume, Zero G, they're another AI project. Maybe I'll talk about them a little later. But moving along here, of course they have a Twitter account. It's an X account. You should check this out because these types of accounts now, if you haven't figured it out already, give you an idea of what the brand is and does, what it's all about, the way that they think, the way that they are trying to tackle the problem with their solution will become more and more apparent as you track their timeline. Of course, I mean this is a Chinese project, and you're going to see a lot of things about Chinese market and AI in their feed, but that's, I mean, whether it's Chinese or not, I think doesn't really make a difference. It's more about how well it's going to tackle a global problem. Okay. So this is their blog. Like I said, the white paper is not available, or if it is, I haven't found it. What they have is a decent Medium blog that goes into detail about what they're trying to do. So this is an introduction. GAIB is the economic layer for AI and compute future. We enable anyone to own a piece of AI, and I think this is exactly the same thing I read from the top of their website. It is. So they're commoditizing GPUs on-chain. They're calling this a new type of yield-bearing asset backed by real AI cash flow. So think about it like this. You have gold, physical gold that you can hold in your hands. And you have any other type of commodity. Even ETH. ETH could be technically considered a commodity, especially now that it has an ETF. We'll think about it within that context. You have ETH, which is the native token for Ethereum. You can have the actual token. The actual token has a utility. Whether you value that token in dollar amounts is irrelevant. You can use it to pay for gas on chain. That is its function. The more people want to use ETH, the slower the network's going to get at a point when it reaches a critical mass. And then there's a backlog of transactions. And that's where the time it takes to push a transaction through comes from, because there's a backlog of those transactions waiting to go through. By spending more ETH, by utilizing more of the tokens for the network, the native token of the network, your transactions will go faster. So it's gas. The more gas you put in, the faster your transaction goes, regardless of the dollar value. Now, we also have an ETH ETF, which is essentially an ETH stock. I guess it's been around for a few years, even in Canada, but to an American, it's new for me. So in that instance, you have an ETH stock. It has no utility. It is only riding on the financial value of ETH. It doesn't do anything except go make your portfolio size go up or down. Same idea here with GAIB. They are tokenizing GPUs, not for use. You can't use them, but you can trade on the amount of demand that there is for them in the market while earning yield. And so they're saying here's this missing economic layer to this whole ecosystem. The missing economic layer has inspired GAIB to validate the idea that as AI technologies advance, the demand for powerful compute resources, especially enterprise-grade high-end GPUs, is skyrocketing. And that is true. It is skyrocketing. And they're betting on the fact that it needs to be financialized through a secondary market. Although I want to call it a secondary market, but it's really not. It's like a commodities market for a GPU, tokenized GPUs. Foundational ideas of tokenizing on-chain compute stems from the observation that in the AI era, compute power is becoming akin to a form of currency, indeed. And what are the challenges here? Well, enterprise-grade GPUs represent the pinnacle of computing power, but their physical nature creates significant barriers to widespread accessibility and tradability. No one's going to be walking around with a few H100s in their pocket. Can't be done. The potential financial impact and or potential global impact on anything from an H100 is not realized when you're traveling around with it somewhere. However, if you have the H100 running somewhere in America, for example, but you want to travel to Bangkok, well, you can't take the H100 with you, but you can take a tokenized version of the GPUs with you in your wallet very, very easily. And those can represent a financial impact to someone somewhere at any time. Well, probably you. So that's the point I'm trying to make, and I think that's what they're trying to do here with GAIB, is help you realize a financial goal with tokenized compute power that you cannot use. It's only for a financial gain. It's only a commodities market. Okay, I hope this isn't actually the name of their thing, Magic. Like if someone says to me like, hey, this happens sometimes in Asia. People say, why is your hair brown or blonde? Why are your eyes blue? I really don't have an answer for them because it should be self-explanatory. I shouldn't have to explain how genetics work. What I'll tell them is, it's magic. Because I have no other answer for them. Why are your eyes blue? Magic. I don't know. It's like a throwaway answer that I give to try to get them off my back. Maybe they're just being cheeky themselves. But if GAIB has named one of their projects or products Magic, that's okay. I hope that's just something that they put in here also to be cheeky themselves. So another aspect to this is that GAIB, in addition to the tokenized part of what they're doing, that tokenization is actually an NFT. So you can have fractional ownership of GPU clusters because usually you'll have like multiple H100s running at one time from one entity. That's a GPU cluster. Even more than that, there might be multiple different types of GPUs running from an entity at one time or providing compute power to a network at a time. But they're all running at different powers, different strengths, different chips, right? Different chips have different nuances. It's not all the same GPUs. Like one GPU is not equal to one GPU all the time. It may depend on the types of chips that you're using or what you're using that power for. So there's going to be different NFTs for the different types of GPUs that are being used on the network. What they're saying is they hope that this is improving liquidity, that it makes the on-chain nature of NFTs will ensure a clear, traceable record of ownership, so then we all know who owns what tokens, and there will be yield distribution. Okay, those are all great ideals. Let's take a look at section 2. So this is describing the commoditization of GPUs. Gold has utility to an extent, although that utility has usually been currency. There are actual things you can do with it, like it's very conductive, so you might use it on cables for like audio equipment or audiovisual equipment. Gold plating on art or on fine dishes, things like that. Oil, I think we all know what the utility is for that. Both of those are commoditized as stocks or as commodities, not necessarily stocks, but they're tradable, right? The value of gold is tradable as a commodity. The value of oil is tradable as a commodity. You cannot take an oil commodity as like a stock, as a representation of oil in the market and put it in your gas tank. It doesn't work like that. But it is heavily influenced by supply and demand. That's what they're trying to do with GPUs. Some challenges here: absence of a liquid compute asset market. That is true. Although Aether has its own market, they have their own tokenization of their own compute. There is a market. It's called the wide world of cryptocurrency. One market, namely, would be Uniswap. Another market, namely, could be SushiSwap. But I think that they're trying to go beyond something like that. Capital barriers for cloud and data centers. This is a problem because Google Cloud is extremely expensive. Granted, you'll get great service from them, but it's very expensive. Prohibitively so for most, if you're not an enterprise. Limited investment opportunities, yes, because it is such a small market right now. It's still very, very new, that there are very limited investment opportunities. So if anything, GAIB has this opportunity to crack open this market. A small secondary ecosystem exists for this commodity, but it's very, very small. If anything, I believe GAIB could crack open that market so that more people have access to this new type of commodity, this tokenized commodity. Going with NFTs is an interesting choice, though. And crypto's need for real yield assets. Yes, so basically you put in $100 and that $100 starts working for you right away as one of these GAIB NFTs. So it starts with funding. This is their economic flywheel and the value adds that GAIB brings to the market. With funding, you get investors like you or me, or companies and enterprises starting to use these things. The supply is controlled by the data centers, by the cloud providers, by any maybe decentralized node operators. And then the service and demand aspects, these are where you have service. So the more services there are, the more demand there is for GPUs, which means we need more supply. The higher supply is going to increase the amount of services, and that's where the flywheel gets going. So overall, this is a great way to describe this. It is at the convergence of RWAs, real world assets, AI, and DeFi. They all are coming together here with GAIB, potentially $38 trillion market here. So these are the merits of the project so far. The technical aspects haven't really been released yet, as far as I know. If they are out there, then apologies to GAIB. I'll have to do another one of these videos. Maybe we can get an interview with them. I have reached out to GAIB. I am hoping to talk with Connie about many of the questions I have. But I strongly encourage you, if you are interested in learning more about this, to go to GAIB's Medium, to visit their social media and ask them some questions. Please do. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.